Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Dania and today's topic focuses on the differences between two prepositions, which are between and among. On the previous videos I spoke about other prepositions and I will link them in the description box, so if you have any questions all you can do is just click on them. But for today our focus will be on the differences between among and between, like how can we use them in sentences. And by the way, the difference between among and between is really easy. There is only one difference between the two and I will explain that to you in today's video. So really I am very sure after this video you will not have any confusion in using between and among. So let's start. You need to use between when you speak about just two things. Really, just two things, meaning that it is used when referring to relationships involving two things, like two people, two items, and more. But for among, it refers to more than two things. So you need to use among when you speak about more than two things. As it says in here, it is basically used when referring to relationships involving more than two people, two items, and things like that. So this is basically the difference between these two prepositions. You need to use between when you speak about two things and among when you speak about more than two things. You need to look at some examples to understand the differences between these two prepositions so that you will have no problems in using them whenever you want. So let's start with the first example. Example number 1. The book is between the two bookends. What is the meaning of bookends? Support that is placed like in both sides of the book, as you see on the picture. This is basically called bookends. So back to the example. Why do we need to use between? Because we are speaking about two bookends. So we are referring to two things, and that is why we need to use between. As it says in the explanation, between here refers to two specific bookends. Alright, so now let's look at another example. The prize was shared among the winners. So we are using among. Why? Because we are speaking about more than two winners, probably 3, 4, 5, but as long as the winners are more than two, and then in this case we need to use among. Alright, now let's look at another example. The cat sat between the chairs. So we are using between. What does that mean? We are referring to two specific chairs. And why are we using specific? Because here we have the chairs. So when you have the in the sentence, you need to refer to specific chairs because the is considered to be definite article. What is the meaning of definite? You need to use definite articles when you speak about specific nouns that you and the listeners know about. Basically, there are like two different articles. We have definite and indefinite articles. Indefinite articles a and an, but the definite article is the. This is basically just an extra information for you. If you have any questions related to the use of definite and indefinite articles, just let me know in the comments, so I will focus on this particular topic on the upcoming video. Alright, so back to the example. We are using between because we are referring to two specific chairs. The cookies were distributed between or among the children. What is the difference between the two? Let's have a look at the first sentence. In here we are using between the children. So with the use of between, we refer to two specific children. Alright, so we only have two children. But when it comes to the use of among, that means we are referring to more than two children. So that is why here it says the cookies were distributed among the children, so that means we have more than two children. So this is how you can tell the difference between the use of between and among. Alright, now let's have a look at another example. The decision was made between the two options. Alright, so this is the meaning of between. But if you have among, like let's say the decision was made among plenty of options, that means we have more than two options, and so we need to choose among, like we have maybe 3 options, 4, 5 and more. Alright, so if you have more than 2 options, use among, but if you only have 2 options, use between. Now let's have a look at another example. Here we have both of the prepositions, between and among. So she stood between her friends and among her friends. What are the differences between the two? If we look at the first part of the sentence, she stood between her friends, so that means we are referring to two particular friends. But if we look at the second part of the sentence, among, if we say she stood among her friends, that means we are referring to more than two friends. Alright? The treasure was hidden among the rocks in the cave. How many rocks do we have? Do we have 2 or more than 2? We have more than 2, and so we need to use among the rocks. Another one, the toys were shared between and also among the siblings. What is the difference between the two? With the use of between, that means we are referring to just two siblings. But with the use of among, we refer to more than two siblings. And by the way, if you're not exactly sure about the meaning of siblings, siblings means brothers and sisters. Alright? So this is the meaning of siblings. So yeah, this is basically everything related to the differences between the use of among and between. I really hope today's English grammar video was easy for you to understand. If you have any questions related to what I have just explained, feel free to let me know in the comments. So I will either respond to your questions immediately, or I will create another video to answer your questions. Alright? Also, if you have other topics that you want me to focus on, please let me know in the comments as well. Alright? So I am very much willing to focus more on topics related to grammar, or if you have to do with writing, or maybe general topics related to maybe tips, advice on how to study the language or things like that. Just let me know in the comments. Alright? So in this case, I really hope everything is okay. Everything is okay with today's video. The explanation is clear, the differences are clear, and everything is okay. If not, just let me know. So yeah, this is all, and thank you so much for joining today's English grammar podcast, and thank you for being here, for listening to everything that I have just explained. So I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I will be looking forward to having you on the upcoming video. So have a great day, take care, and bye bye.